about Nvidia? I'm looking at Nvidia and I see they're down 7% in the past month. Buying opportunity?
Oh, I love this setup. People are freaking out about 7%, right? It's up 52% over the past 12 months, 1,200% over the last 5 years. This is a speed bump. So anybody who is pretending to be an investor, respectfully, that is worried about 7%, really is kidding themselves. I think the longer term play is still 80+% market share, free cash machine. All of the architecture for AI is being built on their chips. And you just can't ignore that.
You know, you play the very, very big names. And I think you've played them successfully so far. Go ahead, pat yourself on the back.
You're very kind. We've been very lucky to get stuff right for a very long time, and I think it continues. I hope it continues. One of these days, I'm going to be horrifically wrong. I just hope it's not tomorrow, Stuart.
Oh, so do I. All right.
By 2030, data center spending is expected to reach $3 trillion to $4 trillion, according to Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang. The business is in a strong position to benefit from this trend because it controls the majority of the data center GPU market. Considering the size of the opportunity, Nvidia's pricing is appealing. By market capitalization, Nvidia has risen through the ranks to become the largest corporation in the world, and its meteoric ascent has been breathtaking. Many others think the best is still to come, even with the stock's tremendous rise. Because its graphics processing units, GPUs, are now the industry standard for generative AI, Nvidia has benefited greatly from the rapid growth of artificial intelligence, AI. The majority of experts concur that AI adoption is continuing, but what does this entail for investors in Nvidia? Has the AI gravy train already departed the station, or is it too late to board it? I'll make a bold forecast regarding the potential position of Nvidia's stock by 2030 once we examine the ongoing opportunities. In order to create realistic visuals for video games, Nvidia invented GPUs. Their success was largely due to parallel processing, which divides complex computational processes into smaller, easier-to-manage pieces. This transformed the gaming business by drastically speeding up processing. Nvidia soon realized that their GPUs could be used for other computationally demanding tasks, opening the door for self-driving cars, cryptocurrency mining, and machine learning, an earlier subfield of artificial intelligence. But the investment in data centers is what's driving the AI revolution. Even though this year saw record expenditures, the biggest cloud operators may set new records for capital expenditures, CapEx, in 2026. Actually, the greatest hyperscalers in the world, including Microsoft, Meta Platforms, Alphabet, and Amazon, who are also Nvidia's biggest clients, are predicted to spend a total of $454 billion on capital expenditures in 2026, a 26% increase, with the great bulk of that money going towards supporting AI. According to IoT Analytics, Nvidia, which holds a 92% market share in data center GPUs, will directly profit from a large portion of this increased investment. CEO Jensen Huang stated on the company's most recent earnings call that at least 58% of data center infrastructure expenditures should go toward its GPUs, semiconductors, accelerators, networking equipment, and even whole AI supercomputers. He continued by stating that by 2030, he anticipates spending between $3 trillion and $4 trillion on data centers. If accurate, the projections would have a significant impact on Nvidia's prospective earnings in the future, indicating an addressable market worth at least $1.74 trillion over the next 5 years. Even though the figures are a little overwhelming, certain modifications will be required to make any estimate more accurate. The threat of competition, for instance, is constant, and some hyperscalers will utilize their own processors or those of Nvidia's competitors. Reflecting on the past might yield valuable insights. The industry research firm Dell'Oro Group anticipated that $455 billion would be spent on data centers worldwide in 2024. With $115 billion in data center revenue for its fiscal year 2025, Nvidia appears to have accounted for about 25% of worldwide data center spending during that time. The bottom end of Huang's estimate, $3 trillion, indicates that Nvidia's data center income might reach $750 billion, more than 6 times its previous level of revenue in a single year. As of this video, Nvidia has a forward price-to-sales PS ratio of 20 and a market valuation of almost $4 trillion. If Nvidia's PS stays the same and it makes $750 billion in revenue, which is a big if, its stock price may rise 265% to $608, increasing its market capitalization to $14.8 trillion. Remember that this is all about having fun with numbers. In 5 years, a lot can happen, and there are numerous potential problems that could prevent Nvidia from meeting this high standard. AI research may stall, which would reduce demand for Nvidia's data center GPUs. The GPU can lose its appeal if a better AI processor is developed. Businesses may cut back on expenditure if the economy experiences a difficult period. You get the idea, but there are more. But after the standard warnings, investors shouldn't lose sight of the bigger picture. The industry standard for AI, Nvidia's GPUs are used in everything from self-driving vehicles to robotics. Improvements in healthcare and increased production efficiency are made possible by these chips. This serves to demonstrate that Nvidia still has a lot of room to develop even if Huang's predictions don't materialize. And given the company's ongoing potential, I believe Nvidia is reasonably priced at just 26 times next year's earnings. Stocks with above-average financial growth are the focus of growth investors since they attract the market's attention and provide strong returns. However, it might be difficult to identify a growth stock that can fulfill its full potential. These equities are inherently riskier than average in addition to their volatility. Additionally, a stock whose development narrative is actually over or nearing its end may cause one to lose money. Finding cutting-edge growth stocks is made relatively simple by the Growth Style Score, which examines a company's true growth possibilities in addition to its conventional growth features. Our unique methodology now recommends Nvidia as one of these stocks. It has a high rank along with a positive growth score. Stocks with the best growth characteristics routinely beat the market according to studies. Additionally, equities with a growth score of A or B and A rank number 1, strong buy, or 2 buy yield significantly higher returns. The stock of this manufacturer of gaming and AI graphics processors is a fantastic investment at the moment for a number of reasons, but we've highlighted 3 of the most crucial ones below. Since most investors are looking for rising profit levels, it might be argued that nothing is more significant than earnings growth. Additionally, double-digit earnings growth is unquestionably preferred by growth investors and is frequently a sign of promising future growth and stock price increases for the company in question. Investors should concentrate on the anticipated rise even though Nvidia's historical EPS growth rate is 89.6%. The industry average for EPS growth is 28%, while the company's EPS is predicted to climb 48.4% this year. Any firm depends on cash flow, but growth-oriented businesses are more likely to benefit and value higher than average cash flow growth than are established businesses. This is because these businesses may launch new initiatives without having to raise costly outside funding thanks to their substantial cash accumulation. At the moment, Nvidia's cash flow increase is 140.5% year over year, higher than that of several of its competitors. Actually, the rate is comparable to the 18.8% industry average. Although the current cash flow growth should be the primary consideration for investors, it is also worthwhile to examine the historical rate in order to properly contextualize the present reading. Over the last 3 to 5 years, the company's annualized cash flow growth rate has been 87.5%, which is higher than the industry average of 0.6%. Investors should take into account the trend in earnings estimate revisions in addition to the measures mentioned above. Here, a positive trend is advantageous. Trends in earnings estimate revisions and short-term stock price changes are strongly correlated, according to empirical studies. Nvidia's earnings projections for the current year have been increasing. Over the past month, the consensus estimate for the current year has increased by 4.3%. Nvidia has a rank number 2 because to the positive earnings estimate revisions, in addition to receiving a growth score of B based on several factors, including the ones mentioned above. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
Our next guest says a near-term pullback is a buying opportunity, especially for AI-driven leaders. So here with more is Evercore's Julian Emmanuel. We were speaking about this earlier on the show. I don't know if you had a chance to listen, but for so long, AI seemed like a buzzword, and all you had to do was just drop it here and there in an earnings call, and you got a little pickup in your stock price. But now we need to really see some of those gears turning. We need to see what it means to actually be capitalizing on AI. What should we be looking for here, even if you see some choppy movement before we really take off?
Yeah, and look, again, if you think about it within the context of the last great technological revolution bull market, the internet of the late 1990s, choppy movement is part of the script. And so in that respect, considering we've gone up almost uninterrupted since the April low, which itself was a scary chop, as we know, it's to be expected that we might have a little bit of indigestion, particularly September into October, when we've got uncertainty. We're going to have a payroll revision number tomorrow that everyone is sort of focused on. And again, the inflation figures, tariff rulings from courts, all of these things together. But what we're looking for specifically is the continuation of this dialogue from corporate America in general that we've heard for the last several months, that they're actually becoming front foot on talking about how they're using AI to generate revenue, not just the cost save, it's the revenue generation. And you're seeing it across industries. And for us, that really bodes well for the setup into 2026.
It's interesting because Sherry Paul from Morgan Stanley was on earlier in the show, and she said, yes, of course, there's tariff noise. There's other macroeconomic uncertainty. You're talking about CPI and PPI and maybe a jobs revision. But she says that doesn't really matter so much because innovation is where it's at. You've got to stay focused on AI. But you're sort of saying, yes, but we could be choppy getting there because of those macroeconomic headwinds. But basically you're saying, hold tight, use the opportunities.
We are, because again, going back to, and if you think about sort of February, March, and April, great bull markets, and this is a structural AI technology-driven bull market, great bull markets find ways to try and to get investors to get off the theme, to do some selling. And our feeling here is you don't do that because basically when you think about it, what really drives stock prices higher in the long term is earnings, and we're very optimistic on earnings into 2026.
Okay, so you talked about revenues. Now you're talking about earnings. Can you give us some more specifics? If you're someone that doesn't know that much about the AI trade, you just know it's the future, but you're also maybe a little worried it's a bubble because you also talked about sort of that bump that we felt in the late 90s when we saw this last big internet revolution. What should you be looking for as you're choosing your investments on those dips for AI?
Well, I would say the default is always, and this is sort of the natural gravitation of the AI trade itself, is that the index weightings have become much more convex to the AI theme. So that's sort of a good way to think about it. But again, there are companies who in their conference call transcripts have been very public about how they're using and deploying AI. And importantly, and we like these types of screens, not only are their valuations reasonable based on their last 5 years history, but they have upward earnings revisions. In a tape like this, where there is some uncertainty, those are the kinds of safeguards that to us really are an extra edge.
The other big story, of course, is Nvidia and Broadcom last week, and this notion that the AI trade is incrementally getting less homogenous.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, Broadcom should be in the Mag 8. We should be calling it Mag 8. We should be talking about this company going to multiple trillions. Hock Tan has done a great job. He's also got a great number two in this guy named Charlie Kawas, who's just sensational and doesn't get enough credit as well. And this company is firing on all cylinders. The way they engage with people for custom silicon is very special. We see revenues in multiple hundreds of billions for Broadcom by the end of the decade, 400 or 500 billion, and the stock could be very much higher. Our target's 415, and that could even be conservative. They are the choice for custom silicon.
Yeah, I mean, at $1.6+ trillion value, so you're right when you say that. Soon to approach potentially if it continues Meta's market value. So right up there. And they have typically grown through acquisition as well as organically. I mean, Hock Tan has been very aggressive Is there another deal to be done for this company, particularly given the strong performance of its stock, that it could conceivably use as currency?
Well, they're still growing a lot in VMware. They've moved everybody to a higher price subscription, and it's sort of waterfalling into the model and normalizing maybe in a year or two. But I think they're really focused on AI right now, and I wouldn't think of them as a roll-up play as much as I would think of this just exploding AI number with a potential for 100% growth next year and the year after. But I do want to say this. I still think you can own Nvidia because I think the TAM's really huge.
I was going to ask if it comes at the expense of Nvidia as the market's telling you a little bit.
I think that whenever you see something like this Broadcom call was so bullish. Like I had to really brace myself on my chair, and I was like, oh my God, is he saying this? Is he saying that? And then, and I think that the numbers got so big that the natural reaction is to freak out about Nvidia. But I think that Jensen and Hock together see something, and Jensen is the undisputed leader. He just raised his TAM to at least $2 trillion for compute networking by the end of the decade, and $3 to $4 trillion in terms of overall data center capex. And he's seeing something that the street isn't even seeing. And then Hock's numbers are so big that he's seeing something. So I know there's some talk about AI slowing up. I don't think that's happening, guys. I think if anything, we'll have hiccups here and there, but we're still going. These guys are seeing something so big. In fact, if the market's $2 trillion by the end of the decade, what's NVIDIA's revenue going to be? I mean, they're getting 2/3 of that TAM right now. Even if their share goes down to 40%, 30%, it's over $600 billion. That's a double from here probably. So I think both can win. I think when things settle down, we'll see NVIDIA's just fine.
The hyperscalers keep spending, and so does everybody else. OpenAI, I mean, the spending, as I made the point earlier, has not in any way diminished, right? Correct? I mean, that's what I'm seeing. I assume you're seeing the same.
I mean, unless Jensen and Hock, the two best CEOs in the world, well, Tim Cook's pretty good. I mean, he's underrated. But I will say that these guys just really were bullish about the AI spend. It was like Jensen saw something. He's saying a 50% CAGR for the rest of the year in CapEx. The build numbers we're seeing for even OpenAI is insane.
Enormous.
I mean, they better be able to raise the money. I think the main thing, David, to worry about is, can guys raise the money?
Yep.
Anthropic just did. By the way, they're going to funnel that right into $13 billion. Where do you think that's going? That's all going into their cloud partners and chips.
Without a doubt.
And if they can raise money, and then power. Look at power. We just had a colleague launch power, James West. We're working very closely with him. We wrote a big report today, put a lot of his work in there about how power is a potential bottleneck. But
we've talked about, would-be populist backlash to AI's consumption. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it could be. I mean, we did have higher rates in New York, right? I mean, nobody wants that. But look, I think that power is the thing we should be looking at as, hey, Jensen, Hock saying these big numbers. Let's go. I mean, assuming capital markets can raise the money, let's see if we can squeeze a lot out of these lemons. And we better make sure that the power is not coming out of China where we can't use it. And we'll see. I think Trump's on it, though.
Yeah,
the administration's real friendly.
That's an important point, and certainly a potential gating issue that we've discussed many times.